and welcome to News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Annetta Felix. The National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has revealed that a total of 57 deaths have been recorded since the outbreak of Lassa fever in 2019. In its latest report, the NCDC revealed that between January 28th to February 3rd, 14 new deaths and 68 new confirmed cases have been reported within 13 states across the country. The deaths are recorded in Edo, Ondo, Rivers, Plateau, Oyo, Ebonyi, Enugu, Taraba, and Nasarawa State, while 68 new cases are reported from Edo, Ondo, Ebonyi, Bauchi, Plateau, Nasarawa, Taraba, Benue, Kaduna, Kwara, Oyo, Delta, and Rivers State. The report further states that from January 1st to February 3rd, 2019, a total of 731 suspected cases have been reported from 19 states. 275 of them were confirmed positive, 3 probable, and 453 negative. Meanwhile, 9 health workers have been affected in the outbreak, with 1 death in Enugu. Now to electoral matters. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has extended the deadline for the collection of permanent voter cards from Friday, February 8th to Monday, February 11th, and this will include Saturday and Sunday. The announcement was made by the chairman of the commission, Mahmoud Yakubu, on Friday, following calls for the extension of the deadline. INEC says the collection of PVCs will now take place from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. It adds that all uncollected PVCs will be recalled and deposited with the central bank until after the polls.
In the last couple of days, we have been inundated by calls from Nigerians to review the current process of collection of the permanent voters' cards. In response, the Commission has taken the following decisions. Number 1, the collection of PVCs scheduled to end today, Friday, 8th February 2019, is hereby extended nationwide to Monday, 11th February 2019. This will include Saturday and Sunday. 2, the collection of PVCs will now take place from 9 in the morning to 6 p.m. daily. 3, all state offices are hereby directed to review the procedure for the collection of PVCs and dedicate all the staff of the local government offices to the collection process. Staff are enjoined to be civil in attending to citizens and to escalate issues that they cannot immediately resolve to their superiors. The Commission wishes to reassure Nigerians that we will continue to take every step to ensure that no registered voter is disenfranchised on account of the non-collection of PVCs. Similarly, the Commission is taking urgent steps to address complaints of unavailability of PVCs of some registered voters before the end of the deadline for collection. We wish to reiterate that after the deadline of Monday, 11th February 2019, all uncollected PVCs will be recalled and deposited with the Central Bank of Nigeria for safekeeping until after the general elections, when the collection of cards and the continuous voter registration will resume.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has finally suspended its 3-month-old industrial action. ASU National Chairman Biodun Ogunyemi announced the suspension hours after a meeting between delegates of the union and representatives of the federal government. Warning that the group will not hesitate to embark on another strike, Ogunyemi urged the federal government not to go back on the agreements reached at the meeting. He was speaking at the NLC complex where he broke the news of the suspension of the industrial action. It's been 3 months of total shutdown of Nigerian universities. Government and university teachers have been unable to reach an agreement on a number of issues affecting tertiary education in the country. After both parties shifted grounds, they eventually agreed to some terms on Thursday. which led to this announcement.
NEC resolved that the current strike action by the union should be suspended conditionally with effect from 12:01 a.m. on Friday, 8 February 2019. However, should government fail to fulfill its part of the agreement as reflected in the 2019 Memorandum of Action, ASUU will resume its suspended strike action as the union deems necessary.
Calling off this strike is important to the success of the February 16 presidential election. Many members of ASUU are to assist the Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct the polls. Many tertiary university students have complained of disenfranchisement because they registered in their schools and will not be able to vote because of the strike. Minister of Labour and Employment Chris Ngige said the government has bent backwards to resolve the lingering educational challenges and promised that the government is ready to abide by the accord.
Today, we have trashed out all the 8 contending issues that led to the withdrawal of services by the teachers in our universities. Some of the items have even been implemented. We have also the issue of shortfalls in the Nigerian universities, for which I told you earlier that government had released a sum of 16 billion. 15.384 is for universities and the others for other tertiary institutions. Shortfall in terms of salaries, and the vice chancellors have acknowledged receipt of those funds.
Why strike? The question has been asked time and time again. Why does ASUU like embarking on strike action that causes disruption and dislocation in the universities? However, ASUU is strongly convinced that if academics fail to fight the cause of university education, the fate that befell public primary and secondary schools will soon become the lot of the public university system in Nigeria.
For now, the doors of Nigerian universities are open again. But for how long is the difficult question to answer. Annetta Felix, TV360, Nigeria. Rivers State APC candidates will not be participating in the National Assembly election on February 16th, as well as the governorship and State House of Assembly elections on March 2nd. This comes as the Supreme Court nullified on Friday a ruling of the Court of Appeal, which allowed the All Progressives Congress to field candidates in Rivers State in the general elections. A Rivers High Court had nullified both the direct and indirect primaries conducted by two factions of the APC Rivers State and restrained the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) from recognizing any candidate of the APC for the 2019 general elections in the state. Now, a faction of the APC in Rivers had challenged the decision of the High Court at the Court of Appeal, which then ordered a stay of execution on the High Court judgment. The matter was then taken to the Supreme Court. Now ruling on the case on Friday, the Supreme Court questioned the basis upon which the appeal court reached its judgment and set the decision aside while upholding the ruling of the High Court. Still on the judiciary, a federal high court sitting in Lagos has discharged and acquitted the former governor of Oyo State, Rashidi Ladoja, of fraud. The former governor was arraigned before the court by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on charges bordering on fraud to the tune of 4.7 billion naira. Given judgments in the case today, Justice Muhammad Idris of the Federal High Court said the evidence brought before it by the EFCC was too low on credible evidence. Also freed is Wahida Kombi, a former Oyo State Commissioner for Finance, who was arraigned alongside Ladoja. Now, the federal government has flagged off the test run of the Lagos-Ibadan Standard Gauge Railway project. Now, this flag-off was conducted by Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi. The minister says the new project will ensure ease of movement of commuters.
Businessmen, you, the transporter, you want to go to Abeokuta. Before it will take you 1 hour 35 minutes to 1 hour 40 minutes to go to Abeokuta, right? It could be worse when the traffic is there. Yeah, why is the traffic? If you stand on the track, it will take you so there will be no traffic. And it's double tracks. So as
one is coming, another one is
going back. And then it does 35 minutes to get you to Abeokuta. You can imagine how much hours you've saved, the fuel you've saved, wear and tear on the road and on your car, and the fact that it's quicker and smoother to do business when you can move your cargo from point A to point B easily.
Still on infrastructural developments, Nigerians have been reacting to the Executive Order 7 on Road Infrastructural Development and Refurbishment Investment Tax Credit Scheme. Now, this scheme, recently approved by President Muhammadu Buhari, encourages public-private partnership in infrastructural development. Adeshawa Odushaga now reports.
Road construction in Nigeria is entering a new phase, with President Muhammadu Buhari signing the Executive Order 7. Some selected private sectors in Nigeria will now be involved in financing the construction of some federal roads in the country. The creation of this scheme could not have come at a better time than this, when major federal roads across the country are in a deplorable condition. Some analysts in the country have described this scheme as a welcome development.
It was a good one. I want to believe that it's in recognition of the fact that the government does not have the economic resources or the financial resources to build some of this critical infrastructure. We've been dealing with some of these roads that have been earmarked at the first instance for construction by the private sector. We've seen collapse and dilapidated highways that are hindering economic activities that will now be taken up by the private sector to build. But beyond that, I think it should be considered the first step towards evolving public-private partnership, where some critical infrastructure can actually be concessioned to the private sector to build, operate, and transfer.
I think it's a welcome idea coming from the government because if you look at the maintenance culture and the infrastructural development of the nation, you will see that the amount of money committed to it has greatly stopped a lot of other projects from being carried out in the country.
The analysts are of the opinion that the introduction of public-private partnerships in infrastructural development, particularly road construction, provides a win-win situation for both parties.
Well, in the case of the executive order, the private sector operators are supposed to recover their money from tax credit. I want to believe that for each of these projects, they're going to build the road projects. There will be evaluation report indicating the cost of the construction, and then they will be allowed to mark up to recover their cost of capital at a reasonable rate. So eventually, the tax credit they will get over time will be to amortize the cost of the construction and a reasonable return on the investment.
It's of benefit in several ways, to the companies, to the government, to the communities wherein those organizations actually operate. Also, it's a benefit to the professionals like engineers like myself because we're into construction. Also, it is of benefit to the smaller companies that operate around those bigger companies. If it's properly supervised, it is properly implemented, we are going to have a good result.
For an order that is being approved just at the tail end of the current administration, this scheme might face a problem of continuity in the face of a likely handing over.
Well, I think the greatest challenge they will face is the consistency of government policies and consistency of government, continuity of government. Should there be a change in government, they need to be assured that the new government will run with that executive order, since it's not a law passed by the National Assembly. So I want to believe that though they've gotten some of those concessions, I do not expect any major construction activities on any of those roads to take place ahead of the election. So the outcome of the election will determine whether they are going to go in to start construction or not.
I hope bureaucracy will not affect them in terms of submitting their bills to the government, in terms of getting their tax reduction forms assessed on time. Because one of the things that the bill is saying is that your tax is reduced. And that means you must submit the expenditure that you have incurred in ensuring that the roads are done. And also, you have to look at the procedure for ensuring that you have your approval to actually construct the road on behalf of the federal government.
Bad road network poses numerous challenges to commuters and the nation, ranging from slowdown of business activities to accidents which sometimes leads to death. But the proposed synergy between the government and private companies raises hopes that these problems will be reduced to bare minimum. Adeshewa Odushoga, TV360 Nigeria.
The Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, ACPN, has threatened to sue its former presidential candidate, Obi Ezekwesili, if she does not return all the money generated and spent on her campaign. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja, Ganiyu Galadima, national chairman of the party, says Ezekwesili's defense that the ACPN is greedy and desperate for money does not hold water. He further demanded transparency on how Ezekwesili spent the 43 million naira campaign funds. Galadima said, quote, "We're expecting that she'll respond at the appropriate time, but if she doesn't, we may be compelled to go to court," end of quote. Ezekwesili last week withdrew from the presidential race and resigned from her party. Despite Buhari's endorsement by the SDP, former Cross River State Governor Donald Duke has kicked against the endorsement of President Muhammadu Buhari by the Social Democratic Party, insisting that he is still in the presidential race and on the ballot for the 2019 elections. The National Executive Council of the SDP had on Thursday adopted Buhari as its consensus candidate for the February 16 presidential election. Now, this endorsement follows the recent legal battle between Jerry Gana and Donald Duke as to who will fly the flag of the party in the presidential election. Now, reacting to the development, Duke, in a statement, said the SDP's endorsement of Buhari is rather unfortunate because it betrays the desire of majority of party members. Well, as preparations for the general elections are in final gear, political parties are dotting their I's and crossing their T's. The All Progressives Congress has continued its door-to-door campaign to gather support for President Muhammadu Buhari's re-election bid. Now, in Lagos, the campaign trail, led by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, took him off from William Street in Bagada through Bariga to Yaba. One of the stops made was at the family house of the vice president in Shomolu, where he was received by his mother, Olubisi Oshibanjo, who endorsed the Buhari-Osinbajo team for a second term.
I must thank God. Do you know that on Thursday I was serving God and praising God all the time? I didn't know what was going to happen on Saturday, but I've been praising God. I told my people I wanted to praise God today, and I praised God until evening of Thursday, not knowing that something will happen on Saturday. But that gift was given to me by Jesus Christ, that you should be praising God. You will never sorrow. That was what God told me. Oh, they've tried. If anybody says they haven't done anything, then you can say that man is not in this world. He's in another world. Because they have tried. What they did for only 3 years, people couldn't do it for 16 years. We are praising God, and we shall praise God after the election.
The deputy governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress in Lagos State, Obafemi Hamzat, has joined other professional engineers in politics to unveil economic, industrial, technological, and infrastructural revolution plans for the nation. The aspirant unveiled the plans at an event organized by all the branches of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSC, in Lagos, tagged Celebrating Professionalism and Politics in Nation Building, Engineers in Politics Talk Show.
We want to build roads, we want to build infrastructure, we want to build power, all sorts. We want to build your water, we want to enhance anything. Engineers are very, very key, and it will be to our detriment if we don't encourage engineers as a nation. We must, because they are just key ingredient of any national development. It's diversifying the economy, making sure that our people get engaged. So when you go to the plains of Plateau, when you go to Benue, when you go to Niger, you see rice, Kogi, you see rice production in Ebonyi going up. It means people are employed, farmers are getting better, As a matter of fact, if you watch TV yesterday, you see the Minister of Agriculture and CBN governor going to some farms on tomato, where people can now get 10 metric tons per hectare. They were getting only 2 before. So they are investing. But so when you invest, it takes time for it to better go. But a lot of farmers will be happy. People will go back to the farm. So the economic policy is good. And
Nigerians join the rest of the world in marking the International Day of Prayer and Awareness Against Human Trafficking. The annual day is celebrated every February 8th, the feast day of St. Josephine Bakita, who was kidnapped as a child and sold into slavery in Sudan and Italy. Now, this next report has more.
In 2018, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, received 662 cases of human trafficking for investigation, with 26 convictions secured. This figure places Nigeria high on the list of African countries with prevalent cases of human trafficking. With various laws and efforts in place by the government to tackle this issue, groups and religious bodies have joined the fight against human trafficking. It is through this struggle that the International Day of Prayer and Awareness Against Human Trafficking was born. Commemorating this day, St. Leo Catholic Church, Ikeja, Lagos, is organizing this press conference to increase awareness on human trafficking.
The evil of trafficking in persons is still very much with us. You wonder how that can still be the case in a world that people expect to be more civilized than to permit such an evil as trafficking in persons. That is sadly very much the case. If the evidence available to us is anything to go by, the reality is that, far from declining, the crime of human trafficking is actually on the increase. Stories and videos coming out of North Africa bear this out.
The clergy then go on to narrate what the Catholic Church is doing against human trafficking, while urging the government to arrest and prosecute anyone culpable of the crime.
In the Catholic Church, we begin with prayer. We pray regularly that God will touch the hearts and minds of those who are engaged in trafficking their fellow men and women to have a change of heart and withdraw from that nefarious business. We do our best to nudge those in authority to fish out the perpetrators of trafficking in our midst and bring them to book according to the law of the land.
Present at the event, the coordinator, African Network Against Human Trafficking, Patricia Ebegbulem, highlights efforts being made by the organization to combat trafficking, especially on women and young girls.
Because they are traumatized, because they are battered, because we are aware of what they have suffered, we bring them in first. We try to give them love, establish trust. Counseling is a very important part of it. And you try to get them to be healed because they are very angry. They are angry with the people that have trafficked them. They are angry with the country that has disappointed them. They are angry with their parents. Some of them are trafficked by their parents.
Although many Nigerians speak of their traumatic tales of exploitation and abuse when they return from Libya, human trafficking of men, women and children from Nigeria to Europe continues unabated. Organizers of this event are hoping that knowledge gathered from the conference will help make a difference. Oyin Adekunle, TV360, Nigeria.
We'll take a break here and we'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Last you vote.
Oh yeah. When last you vote for the person where you get for mind say go sabi work?
Don't be person will find you something, no.
Okay now, you register to vote?
So you don't collect your PVC.
I beg. Make we not be like Esau. We're selling bet right though.
Make we shine our eyes this election period. Make we stamp only people we will know say then get better mind for Nigeria. This message.
That's TV360 Nigeria.
welcome back. Let's now talk business with Fidelia Aguncha. Hello, Fidelia.
Hi, Aneta.
So what's the latest in business today?
Well, after closure for over 1 year, the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing has reopened the remaining stretch of Leventis Bridge in Apapa. The outward bound stretch of the bridge was reopened after about 8 months of rehabilitation. Now, the Director of Highways, Southwest Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Funsho Adebiyi, who declared it open, said it would decongest traffic in and out of Apapa.
This bridge, the volume of traffic that passed through this bridge per day is best imagined. Now, the weight of those vehicles is also an issue. The weight of those vehicles, this is the main access into Apapa Wharf. The heavy-duty vehicle that comes out from here are passing through this bridge. So we need to do everything possible to preserve the strength of the bridge, to preserve the structural integrity of the bridge, and ensure the serviceability. One of the measures we have taken is to meet them one-on-one. This is just a one-way. The other way is there, and it's already perfected for traffic movement. Okay? So we're already talking with them. We won't have that gridlock again.
Well, when we look at the reinstatement of this bridge, we have to look at different phases. Initially, an in-depth survey was done on this bridge that suffered some fire damage some time ago. And initially, it was believed that the deck of the bridge was damaged. As we progressed with our investigation, we basically find out that also the main bridge beams suffered severe damage from that fire. So we had to revise the approach and also the schedule, and basically came up with a technical conclusion that also the main bridge beams have to be replaced. Our in-house expert, as well as external experts, obviously did all the necessary quality checks on the material that we installed here, starting from the reinforcement, and then continuing to preparing extra set of concrete cubes, so that we're really guaranteeing a continuous and comprehensive quality control management here on this project.
Well, up next is Talk Review. Stay with us. Well, it was a green week for the Nigeria Stock Exchange as the market posted gains through the entire week, appreciating by 2.89% combined. Now, these gains pushed the market value up by 334 billion naira, while the all-share index surged by 893 points. Now, sectorally, the consumer goods index gained the most for the week, and it has been posting equities on the gainers chart through the week. And now this is the gainers chart, as we can see right here. Nestle is the biggest gainer from the consumer goods sector, making the gainers chart for 3 consecutive days, moving up in value by 80 naira. It was also a good day for Seplat, which is leading the chart, Okumu Oil and Flour Mill. Let's now look at the flip side, that is the losers chart right here. We can see that Dangote Cement could not maintain the gains recorded yesterday as it leads the pack of losers today, losing a massive 4.5 naira at the close of trading. Well, in summary, it was a massive, the market saw sales of 720 million naira, so that's massive, and they were worth over 12 billion naira, and they were transacted in 5,752 deals. To the global scene now, we can see that it was another day in the negative for the FTSE, Dow Jones and Nikkei, all dropping in value. Well, it's back to Aneta.
Thank you so much for that, Fidelia. Another day in the bulls on the global stock market. And we'll take a break here and we'll return with more. Do stay with us.
It's another important time in our country's history,
when we head to the polls to decide our future.
You and I have the power to choose our leaders, but we can only do this when we exercise our right to vote.
Every single vote matters, and I mean yours.
Don't sell your power.
Say no to vote buying.
Say no to electoral violence. This message was brought to you by
TV360 Nigeria.
The toll from a dam collapse at a mine in southeast Brazil has risen to 157 deaths after nearly 2 weeks of searches, with 182 people still missing. Now, those listed as missing are presumed dead, but not yet located under the layers of muddy mining waste released when the tailings dam broke apart in the town of Brumadinho on January 25th. In recent days, rescue teams have battered rains which limited their ability to fly helicopters over the area. Now, the body recovered from the wreckage of a plane crash is that of Cardiff City player Emiliano Sala. Now, Dorset police confirmed this in a statement saying, quote, the body brought to Portland Port today, Thursday, 7 February 2019, has been formally identified as HM Corona for Dorset as that of professional footballer Emiliano Sala. Salah, who was 28, was travelling to Cardiff in a plane piloted by David Ibbotson, which went missing over the English Channel on 21st January. The Argentine's body was recovered late on Wednesday after the wreckage was found on Sunday morning. Ibbotson's body, however, remains missing. Thank you for watching News Now on TV360 Nigeria. Bye for now.